You're listening to Comedy Central.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jim Jefferies Show podcast. I will sing the theme song for the new podcast. This is the Jim Jefferies Show podcast. It's like other podcasts, but it involves me. Now, I could improve my songwriting, but I'm not here for songwriting. I'm here to tell you about my upcoming dates. July 13th at the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. July 15th at what is it?
T. That's a T.
That's a T.
I mean, it's a letter.
TCU.
Yeah.
TCU plays in Saskatoon. Are you taking the piss? I'm in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. That can't be a real place, but that's where I'm going to be in Canada, I think is the name of the country.
Also, on July 13th.
Oh, we have big news. We have big news.
Yeah.
We have big news. July 13th, the release of my new Netflix special, This Is Me Now, will be coming out on Netflix. That's why it's a Netflix special.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be released in the same day around the world, and it involves such classic comedy routines as the ones that I did on that. Now, we have a
You
guest.
really sold it. I think a lot of people
No,
are
it's
gonna,
good. I like this special.
How many people are listening to the podcast? I'm assuming they're going to watch your special.
I'm a little podgy on this special because me and you had been touring at that stage for about 6 weeks across Europe,
Yeah.
and so we weren't on a good diet.
No, you said you were going to go on a diet on the trip. I was like, yeah, that's going to work
I
out.
kept my weight to a reasonable level, but it was never going to be great.
No. It was a lot of drinking.
There was a lot of drinking, and it was Europe, so there was a lot of dancing in clogs, and that doesn't burn
And I was saying this the
calories.
other day to Whitehead, is like, you, like, from when you start on a flight to the end, you get fatter. You gain like 5 pounds.
I gain 5 pounds on every flight, and so
Jim,
these.
when are you going to introduce me?
No, I don't introduce you. Forrest introduces people.
Forrest.
Oh, yeah, we'll do it in a second here.
Oh my God! I was like,
So I gain five
like
pounds,
last 5 minutes. We'll introduce
5 pounds on every flight I do, and that was why I was gigging last night in Canada, and that's why I'm a bit pudgy on this episode, because I have flight weight. I swell up and I retain water.
Yeah.
On a lighter side, Forrest, baby, my best friend, honey, my mum got a chair.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah, I saw that online.
The chair is...
Before we go into this, real quick, let's introduce our guest because he feels left out.
He doesn't even know about the fucking chair.
I know. I know about your mum.
Everyone knows about my mum.
I know she needs a
When
chair.
she's swimming, she becomes her own continent.
All right, so our guest is your friend, comedian Eric Lampaert. Right?
Man, good
I say
pronunciation.
Lambert.
He didn't even fucking know.
It's not Lambert at all.
It's not Lambert. I've been calling him Eric
Where's the
Lambert.
B?
I've been calling him Eric Lambert for fucking a decade.
No, you haven't. You're calling me Razor.
Lampaert.
Okay, does everyone remember the band Razorlight?
No.
All that long.
What?
Living in America.
It's not even a good reference.
Okay, but he looks like the lead singer from Razorlight. So
Right.
everyone who's in their cars, Google it if you own a Tesla. The rest of you will have to wait till you get home.
So Eric's last name is spelled Lampaert. So
Oh, like the cheese.
he's French.
Yeah.
He's French.
Are you French?
Yeah, you know this.
I thought you were British. I met you in Britain and you have a British accent.
Yeah, but I met you in Britain. Doesn't mean you're British.
Yeah, but you have a British accent. You have the disdain of a French person. you look at people with like little disregard for their human being.
Yeah, of course.
Which brings us to the first act of our show.
No,
people like
before-
Eric.
Before we do that, you were just talking about it. There's a Josh Shields wrote. He said Jim killed it earlier tonight at the casino in Ramalama Ding Dong.
Ramalama Ding Dong.
He even provided a chair update that I think only 2 other people in the audience were in on. Best live comedy I've seen, including blah blah blah.
Who is my?
The other times I've seen.
The best.
It was worth
I'll
the
tell you
2-hour
what.
drive, but the chair update. So the chair has arrived. You were about to say that before we cut you off.
I'll tell you what actually happened when I was in Ramalama Ding Dong Casino. I was there, and there was a woman, I'm going to say, in her mid-110s, and she came up to me and she goes, "I'm your biggest fan. I've seen you live 6 times." I went, "Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much." I go, Did you enjoy tonight's performance?" And she said, "Not as much as the other times."
brutally honest.
Like, couldn't you fucking lie? Couldn't you just fucking for a second just lie? Anyway.
Maybe that's how much she likes you. She can be honest with you.
I thought it was a good show, but so what happened was my mother has a chair. Now, if you've been keeping up with the podcast, I purchased a chair for my mother. It's got to be like on 10 weeks ago now, right?
I don't know when we first know. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah,
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But it arrived. It was a big incident. My mother texted me from the chair and said, I'm using the chair right now.
Yeah.
I've been using it all day. And I was like, but you've always used a chair every day. Don't act like this is a new scooter that you've been trying out in a fucking car park.
Yeah.
But she's in the chair. She's very happy. This is a chair that lets my mother stand up,
Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Robot
How does
chair.
it work? Does it push her up? Like,
What happens is there's a mechanism where the chair, sort of like a transformer, moves into an upright position, and then my mum stands up, and then she acts like it was from her own free will.
that's amazing. And does it help her walk forward as well? Is it like a whole body?
Oh! If my mother had this chair back when I was a child, she would have asked for a slap my children in the face mechanism.
Have you seen that? You know Sigourney Weaver, what she uses to like get rid of the alien at the end of Alien, right? Your mother needs one of those where she can just literally move around.
My mother's life is exactly like Sigourney Weaver in the movie Alien.
No, I'm saying she should have that suit where she can walk around and actually do stuff. Can your mum walk?
I assume, I haven't seen it in years, but I assume she probably can walk. She has a walker.
She can walk. I've seen her walk.
I bought my mother a Life Alert necklace. You know those things that you press and it's just a full and I can't get up. Because I'm a big fan of old sitcoms, so I watch a lot of Golden Girls and MASH, and all they advertise is Life Alert fucking necklaces. That's when you know you're watching the wrong TV for your generation, when it's just like, hey, we also have a thing where we will take your house and give you a little bit of money, and Life Alert necklaces. That's the television I watch.
That's great, though. A Life Alert necklace?
Yeah, where you can just press it, and then people know you're in trouble.
Great. That sounds great.
You'd enjoy that because you're French. You would hit it if there was some problem with the cheese you didn't like. Anyway.
America makes terrible cheese. So, yes, there is...
They do make terrible cheese. What do you feel about American bread?
Oh, mate, so don't get me started.
Don't get me fucking started. American bread is slop.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
I think the flour they use...
They put too much sugar in it.
Oh,
Australia has better bread than Britain. When I moved to Britain, I was like, the British don't know what the fuck they're doing with bread. I would kill for British bread right now.
Mate, and I'm French. British bread is shit compared to French bread.
Well, you got baguettes. What other... Name me all the other breads from France. You've got baguettes.
We don't really care much for the other breads, because baguette is such a pure
when as a nation do you go, this is our national bread, a crusty long stick?
Yeah, but we striked to have the right for this bread. Right? It's incredible bread. It's like 70 cents. And it just melts in your mouth, Jim. Okay? You don't understand because you're just, oh, I love cocaine all the time. There's other stuff out there.
Not all the time, and I don't put cocaine in my bread. But when I do, that bread is very Moorish. You ever had cocaine bread? It's very claggy in your nose.
Well, we don't need cocaine for that good bread. A baguette is like cocaine.
Okay. All right, you're being a bit nasty, Eric.
All right, well, that was bread
all right,
talk.
so what?
The next,
what happens is we did a show today. We were off.
We're not talking about that.
What are we talking about now?
Because I got some things I got to talk about first.
Oh, for fact, this is why people don't like you on the podcast. This is why the comment section is very harsh towards you. Because
first of all, let's not talk about the comment section being harsh to anybody. Have you read the comments about you?
I don't. I keep off the internet.
Some.
You keep off the internet after I told you to, right?
Yeah, you told me not to look at the internet anymore because I used to suffer from depression.
There's people that aren't going to like me. I don't give a fuck. They can suck it.
You have a beautiful voice, man.
Shut up.
You do. You have a lovely, raspy voice.
Yeah.
Like your voice is so pretty. It doesn't match with your body.
Yeah. Okay.
It is beautiful. Actually,
he does.
Beautiful voice.
When you just listen, if you close your eyes and you listen to Forrest,
you can sell anything.
Say something, Forrest.
Hey, this is the Jim Jefferies Show podcast.
All right, can we make a cut point right now because I've just come?
I just wanted to read one thing real quick from somebody that listens to the podcast.
You'd be a good crocodile in an animated film.
His name is, let's do it. I'm ready. Whoever's listening, sign me up. Robert Hicks was inspired by your feature on emotional support animals and your camel, Carl. So he decided to follow your lead, and he registered Horatio, a medicinal leech.
What? He registered a leech?
He sent in a picture. There's a card with a leech on it.
He has an emotional support leech?
Yeah, and
How does he put the little vest on the leech?
Think he can do. I think he just puts a little leash on it, like clips it on there or something.
This is not a lie. I've just seen the pictures.
No, we have the pictures.
He has an emotional support leech.
Was this on the podcast group?
So what happened? Does he keep it in a jar, or does he stick it onto his skin to suck the blood outside of him? Because I've had those relationships.
He doesn't get into that, but he just basically was kind of like showing how you could register a leech, which is even more absurd than a camel.
This is a new thing we're doing on the show. People who are listening, you get an emotional support weirdest animal. I don't think you're
not going to be leech, but try.
I don't think you're going to beat leech.
Yeah, I mean.
Plankton?
This is how much they want the money.
Oh, mate, I love a plankton.
And an emotional sea monkey. You know those things that you got as kids and you put them in and they just look like sperm in water?
Well, that's just what I did. I just wanked in a bucket and I looked at it.
Eric, did you ever masturbate in the bath when you were a kid?
Yeah, I do. What do you mean as a kid? Anytime I have a bath.
It's such an icky thing because I did it loads as a kid.
Yeah, it moves around.
And then it moves around. It looks like a lot more than it actually is. It's like if you start bleeding on the floor, it looks like a lot. But if you get like a pint of blood, it looks like you're a dead person, right? Oh. But if you ejaculate into a bathtub, it swims.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
When you come out, it's like you've been in a spider web. Anyway, we did a show.
So pet rock. I think you could register a pet rock, maybe, or an imaginary animal or something.
Not an imaginary animal. That's ridiculous.
Well, fucking leech is ridiculous, and this guy did it.
They used to be cutting-edge medical science.
Yeah,
people used to. That's one of the.
Still do.
No, but that's
this guy's
the thing.
A doctor.
That's the thing about medical science. Is a weird thing. We used to think that taking the blood out of a human being would make them better because all the blood in their body was bad. If we drained them of blood whilst they were sick, they would actually improve. And then another idea we had was put leeches, and we think that's so ridiculous now. But think about 100 years' time. Are we going to look back on us now and go, we used to do chemotherapy on people? Or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Well, we'll be robots by then, right?
Yeah, this guy, by the way, he's the, I don't know if we're allowed to include this, but he's a director at Muller Museum Historical. I'm thinking, it's kind of blurry. It's a history of medicine. So he's like a doctorate in history of medicine. So
that's probably why he loves them, because he's read so much about them. He's got Stockholm Syndrome from the leeches.
So that guy's actually leech. Do I have to read an ad?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, ready for this ad?
Oh, yeah, we're ready.
Introducing Kick-Ass News, the iTunes Top 20 podcast. That is a twice-weekly dose of sanity for the world gone mad. In an age of fake news and alternative facts, real news and actual facts almost seem quaint. Yep. Host Ben Mathis. Is that his name?
Yeah, it looks
right. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Offers witty, insightful commentary, elevated entertainment conversation with guests like Bill Murray, Whitney Cummings, Dave Sedaris, Jake Tapper, Jordan Kepler. I don't know if he even has a TV show anymore. And more.
He didn't even get his name right.
It doesn't matter. Well, how is this podcast bigger than ours? They've got big guests. Subscribe to Kick-Ass News on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and wherever you listen to podcasts.
What do you mean, how is it bigger than ours?
We have Eric Lambert.
Oh, yeah.
How dare you, gentlemen?
Yeah, that's...
I'll have you know that in France, I'm known a little bit.
You're known...
Oh, you know a little bit?
A little bit.
On this list, you'd be known as and more. So that'd be you, but you wouldn't be on this list. Well, thanks for coming on.
That's what people like that and more.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Right. I always love it when you're booked on a stand-up show and they go, we have this comic, and a very special guest, and it's like it's very clear that my name's not selling any tickets because I'm the very special guest. Wouldn't you just put it up there? No one ever went to a Michael Jackson concert and went, there's a very special guest coming out.
Wait,
here.
where do they do that?
Well, they don't do it anymore. I'm very popular.
Oh,
anyway,
so
we did a TV show. We did a TV show today. Eric, you watched the TV show?
Yes, mate, I watched it.
Do you watch it on television when it comes out? Eric?
I actually watched the YouTube clips or
yeah,
the things that you sometimes tweet.
Those are the bits that I watch as well.
Yeah.
So what happened was very sad opening gambit on the show. We talked about the detention centers that have ramped up in the last 6 weeks or so, where Trump has now been detaining children as young as 2 in detention camps. Locking them up in cages, which, just for the record, the Jim Jefferies show doesn't like that. We're not pro that. I don't know what the other shows are doing. I heard something where Samantha Bee encouraged him to do more, and then John Oliver was doing a piece on the detention centers, and he just said the word "cool."
I feel like those kids don't deserve it, but if you had a couple of days a week in your childhood, maybe you would have been a bit.
Well, I didn't mix well with other children. I could have done with a detention camp.
Yeah.
But the thing is, look, obviously this is an extraordinarily sad story, and it's something that needs to be rectified right away. And now what's happening is Trump did an executive order about a week ago where he said no longer will the families be separated, but he didn't offer to put the other families back together. Now, the simple reason that he didn't offer to put the families back together is because they didn't keep any records. There is no legitimate way to keep these families back together. Now, 23andMe have actually offered a solution where they will take swabs from everyone's mouth and they will know through DNA who the parents are and who the children are. But I just see a really horrible episode of Maury Povich.
Oh, I thought you were going to explain.
In what way? Yeah. Oh,
well, because
I know what you're saying, but I thought you were going to keep going with it.
Because what if, right, one of the dads isn't actually related to one of the children and they're looking for their kids and it's like, you're not the father.
Oh, that'd be great. So we should film it is what you're saying.
Yeah, make it a bit fun. Anyway, so what happened was we have no ways of putting the families back together. It's tragic. It's fucking inhumane. It's something that as a nation, not even as a nation, just part of the human race, we shouldn't stand for. You can argue all you want that maybe the parents are criminals because they are criminals. They're crossing a border without the proper documentation, but I will not listen to
Not
you.
all of them, though. Some of them are
They're seeking asylum.
Asylum seekers, and that's where there becomes a gray area because sometimes they say that people are saying they're seeking asylum when they're not. But if you're seeking asylum, you're not a criminal. You're
not a criminal. But I won't listen to under any circumstances that a 4-year-old child is a criminal.
I don't know how they can sleep at night. Like genuinely, that is.
It's horrendous. Imagine being the ICE worker who has to take the child, rip the child from the parents' hands. And then we said this in the show, that the excuse they're giving the parents on what they are doing with the children is they say, we are taking them for a bath, which is very similar to, I don't know, I hear your people tried to resist them.
Hey, there's a guy back in the 40s.
But I would, the other thing to remember is that a lot of these children and these families are coming from El Salvador, they're basically the highest murder rate in the world.
They're having a terrible time
for people under 19. And so the journey
they're not even in the World Cup.
The journey to come from El Salvador to the border of Mexico to the U.S. is not like it's like, hey, we're just gonna make this fun trek of like over 2,000 miles, and in some cases, people die on the way there. They're walking through the desert, or they're trying to, there's these caravans that they're in. But it's a terrible journey. And then you get to the border, and then you're separated from your kid, and it's still, like you said in the show, they're still going to choose that every time because the other option is them getting murdered or raped.
The other option is death.
Yeah.
And so this whole policy that we have to go through now with America about America being first, and maybe you agree with that policy, and maybe you're a nationalist who thinks that your country should be placed first, and maybe we help out too many other countries and stuff, but in all tracks in life, people should come first. You should always go into every situation in life with love. You shouldn't go in with a fuck these people attitude. Now, I'm fairly hippy-dippy about the whole thing. I don't even believe there should be fucking borders, but I understand why people would argue that we need them and whatnot. But just who can put a fucking child into a cage and then go home at night and think, I've done something good here today. So it was a very difficult thing to write a comedy routine about that, but somehow we made it work.
Because someone said, well, JJ Whitehead, who's one of your writers, he said, we're doing stuff about the child detention camp. It's going to get serious. And I was expecting, 10 minutes of serious stuff. Actually, I laughed every bloody 20
Yeah,
seconds.
there was some jokes, and then the points were made. But
it was funny, but yeah, it was...
Was it hard for you, Jim, this episode?
At the end of the episode, and I don't know if that's the edit that we'll go through, we actually, in our second act, we spoke to a man who had just recently, within last 2 weeks...
Antar Davidson,
who was working in the detention camps and had quit because he just couldn't put up with it anymore. And the place that the Southwest Keys, who are the people who run these camps over the top, and they're like, let me say this very simply: the top executive there makes millions a year. These are the same as how prisons are run in America. They are privatized. It is with
they have a $965 million contract with the federal government. It's somewhere in that range. It's close to $1 billion.
It is within their interest to detain children in the camp. That's how they make the money. Now, I hate to get sappy and say as a father, because I always hate when people do that. They did it through the Me Too movement, where they said, or as someone who has a sister and as someone who has a mother. So I don't want you to think that I think I'm special because I'm a dad, but it fucking shook me to my core to know what's going on with these things. And as I read the statement, I actually did tear up. Now, I didn't cry like Jimmy Kimmel does. He loves a good cry on TV, but no, it actually... They
had the graphic up.
Yeah.
And I couldn't... You weren't talking, but it sounded like you were getting emotional.
I was very close to crying.
As you walked off, we see like the last half a second of you walking off. And...
I was very close to crying, and I just didn't want to say the statement about how they didn't do A, B, C, and D.
This is not the easiest of podcasts to invite me on, Jim.
No. But, look...
Oh, we're so sorry. You're inconvenient.
Yeah, we're sorry.
What about...
You're fucking Ann Moore. Don't forget that, Eric, all right?
Just go in a fucking corner and eat a baguette, cunt. Anyway, so...
Do you want to say anything, Jason, about that?
Yeah, come on.
Not about the show, about the backblade. So,
no. This is Jason. Jason, our head writer. Grab a microphone, Jason.
You got that microphone right there. Yeah.
I would say that out of...
You guys talking about something fun?
Out of the... What are we up to now? Like 35 episodes or something? What are we up to?
32.
32. This was probably the hardest piece we wrote, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I mean...
Charlottesville was difficult, but Charlottesville, we were talking about adults, but kids
to be totally honest, I was expecting it to be harder. I mean, I think the writers going into it were, everybody was... Oh, what are we going to say, and where are the jokes? But I think when people just kind of tapped into like their anger about it and their true feelings, like there was a lot of great material. I was really, I don't know. I mean, it's weird to say I was pleasantly surprised how funny it was, but there,
I feel like you would have been a great comedy writer during the Holocaust because this was so easy for you.
Yeah. Oh,
no, but
we should mention that Jason's Jewish, by the way. Just throw that out there.
I rewrote a lot of stuff because I was like angry. I wrote stuff and I was like, oh, that's just angry. And then you go back and be like, all right, let's try and finish.
But
this
mean, the writers were submitting. Everybody was like, oh, sorry, this is so angry. Sorry, it's not funny. I think there was just a lot of really great stuff.
Because it's already sad. Like anybody that sees this just peripherally is like, that's sad. Then when you like just look at video clips and read stuff for like 2 days, you're just like, oh.
This is anger the natural route to take. You're not going to...
The simple thing to say is it doesn't matter what anyone's done. Unless there's abuse in a situation, there is never an excuse to take children away from their parents. Unless there is abuse or the parent has done a horrific crime that needs to go to prison, there's just no excuse. I don't care how illegal a fucking person is. Why separate them from their children?
Like a 4-year-old stole my car.
Oh, 4-year-olds stole your car? Really?
So,
How do you know that? Was there dribbling on the steering wheel and some
there
building
were
blocks in the back?
Cheerios.
Yeah, but even
all
then,
over their fronts.
even then, the parents can visit them in prison.
That's true. That's
you know?
true.
Like while they're behind
They
the glass,
talk
the
through the
parents
little
could be like,
phone.
"It's
Yeah.
all right."
But I also don't know, like, because you have new relatively newborn, right?
Yeah. 9
and
months old.
Yeah, and
I like how you go a relatively.
I didn't know the
newborn.
exact age. I don't know. When's a newborn?
Newborn means it's new. Is in the. It's assumed that the child is young.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know terms.
You have one of those old newborns.
I have a kid.
Like a relatively born.
Yeah, don't you know that Jason has a Benjamin Button kid?
Yeah.
Young kid.
Turning 80 years old.
Yeah, in 40 years' time, she'll be our weatherman.
So, and I mean, I don't have a kid, but you do too, Jim. There's other people on our staff that have children. So I just wondered if it was more difficult.
No, it was very obvious when we were in the writing room that you didn't have a kid because you kept on saying during the process, "Fuck kids. What's the point of kids?" Like Forrest was adamant
I
about
thought it was good.
Yeah.
It turned me around writing about it, but I was like, at first I was like, this is good. Yeah.
Like,
You need that dissenting
do
opinion
these
in a room.
cages have shackles? That's what I want. Forrest kept on demanding that.
I knew it'd be hard for you because when I went to your house like 4 months ago, the only thing you did with me was get me drunk and show me what you do with Hank around the house, which sounded way worse. Than
So we-
but like,
so-
I mean, it's
so
like,
what?
You were showing him his room. And you were like,
So-
"Look, this is where he plays."
So,
Like, you're
so what? You're telling me we had anal sex in every room?
Yes, but also
We have some people watching who just turned on us like, "Oh, that wasn't very nice."
That was
It's not true. It's a joke. Not in every room. I keep my bedroom as a temple.
but you were so happy, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be hard."
Oh no, of course I love my little boy, man.
Yeah, and then I mean Jason, because I know I felt like it was I don't know, not difficult for you, but I just could see like people that had kids. It was like even more
I mean,
more
you know,
emotional.
I think putting the show together, and I mean, the room did great, but just in general, like watching the news, it was tough. It was a tough couple weeks. I've not been great.
Yeah, I haven't been in a super fucking happy mood about the whole thing. Scott Zabilski, our producer and co-creator of the Jim Jefferies Show, he fought with us so hard on this topic. He kept on coming into my office going, "I know what the writers are saying, but God damn it, Trump is right." Now, Scott, how do you feel about the situation now?
Here we go.
Well, you know, after watching you tearing up, and then you know, I was like, okay, this is clearly an emotional thing. Maybe I'm going to reconsider my position. And then when you told me you were just sad about Australia losing in the World Cup.
No, I got to admit, the real reason I teared up is Australia got knocked out by Peru in the World Cup. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter because Belgium drew with France anyway, so we were never getting through the
Denmark,
fucking World Cup. Or Denmark, or whatever the fuck happened there.
Yeah.
You excited, Lambert, that both France and...
Lampaert. You're not even close. Lambert.
He still looked at me when I said it.
Just call him Ann Moore. That's what he's called.
Okay, so were you upset about... who is supporting, France or England?
I only support France because when I lived in the UK, English people hated that I was French. So I was like, I'll just stick to being France, just to piss them off.
Why would you want to piss people off, man?
Because it's just a nice feeling. I'm not stealing their children. I'm just voting for another team.
But if you could steal their children...
I maybe would.
Oh!
I would keep them in cages. I would have a really good time.
I would keep them with walls made of cheese. I would
great.
keep them in a cheese cage.
they would eat the best bread.
The only children who would die would be the lactose intolerant children.
I kind of enjoyed the guy in the audience before the show who was challenging you on the detention centers.
Oh, okay.
funny.
So for the most part, I kind of do warm up for the show myself, and then I said we're going to be talking about detention centers, and there was a guy that said they're not that bad, and I said, have you been in a detention center? And he goes, yes, I have. And I go, why? And he goes, well, in Atlanta, they don't, allow marijuana like they do here in California. And then it turned out that he was just a cunt who went to prison for 30 days. and he thought that was a detention center. No, it's fucking prison. And then we did a long run about him being anal raped. A long run.
Yeah.
Oh, you loved it.
Oh,
Yeah, double standards are fun. Yeah.
you can't. This
wouldn't
is
have been able
the
to do that
for
with-
any young, inspiring comedians who are listening. they say you can't do rape jokes, but you can as long as it's male on male prison. That's the rule. I'm sorry, that just works. You can do it in a movie. Like you can have a G-rated film where a guy's in prison, and then some big guy walks in and goes, "Hey, I'm Bubba," and we all laugh our ass off. Prison rape is funny across the board. I don't write the rules. These are the facts.
Jason, before you go, do you have an update on the Backblade? We were sponsored by Backblade, and
we have it. Can someone give me some fries or something?
We have food too. So Jason,
Yes, sir.
took home a Backblade 2.0. Did you use it?
I did. I recommend it.
We advertised the black.
I'm not being paid for this endorsement.
We advertised the Backblade, and like,
Is that to shave your back? What is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
it says what it does on the.
At least the name is perfect.
Yeah. Okay, of course. If it was called the testicle blade, what do you think it would do?
I love that. That's your target market. Back blades.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Backed men.
so anyway,
Or women.
our major sponsor is the Backblade Company.
Hold on a second, though.
No, I'm gonna eat off microphone. Some people get angry that I eat on the podcast. Other people don't, but it's my lunchtime. Now, you've been using the Backblade.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And how's that been working out well?
Yeah.
It works as advertised. I give it an excellent review.
I thought you said you would come in here and do a demonstration. Didn't you?
Yeah,
say
but
that?
I didn't. Kelly wanted me to do that.
When was the last time you used it?
So far, I've only had to use it once.
And when was
Pretty
that?
efficient.
When was that?
That was maybe. When did you give it to me, Forrest?
Last week
2 weeks
or
ago?
2 weeks ago. Kelly gave it
It
to
was
you.
right
She
when we
wrapped it
came
up.
back
Yeah.
from break because you guys left one nicely wrapped outside.
Kelly.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
How quickly does your back hair grow back?
It takes a little while. It's not like like a beard.
Could
where
you
have to
could
shave.
you show us your back right
Okay,
now?
who was shaving your back
Yeah,
before
let's
the
just
Backblade?
see.
Show us.
Nobody.
Show
It
us.
Nobody
I've
was just
never seen
growing.
your
It just
back.
looks,
It was just
well,
growing?
now
Also-
it's not. Now it's clean shaven.
Well, I wanna-
Also, I don't understand that you're like a married man with a child. Why do you bother keeping shit together?
No, that's beautiful. That's great.
no,
Good work, man.
that's more. I don't know. It's a personal thing.
Yeah. It's you want to look nice. Are you going to show us your back? You seem like.
Show us
I mean,
your
I
back.
guess
There's no
yeah.
pressure, but I mean, I feel
Show
like,
us your back.
I guess
Show
there's
us your
pressure.
back, mate.
I'm not
Come
going to take
on.
my shirt off, but I'll just.
Oh my god!
No.
Oh, ooh!
Look at that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Backblade.com.
And how hairy is it normally? Like really hairy?
What's that?
How hairy is it normally? Like it looks
I don't
clean
know,
shaven now.
6, 7. I don't
He-
know.
he-
I don't know how you judge.
On the
He's the reason
There's
that
the Finkelstein
finding
scare.
Bigfoot is still on television.
I'm a zero. I have not one hair on my.
Me neither.
Some people are
Me
born
neither.
the lucky ones.
Me neither. But I have very
I'm
hairy.
lucky, but I'm like a sort of smooth baby. It's gross.
I've got like a little patch of wispy hairs in the center of my back.
That's
It's not,
nice.
it's not
I
good.
want that. I
It's
want
not
that
good.
for us.
No,
I'll
it's
tell you
weird.
what.
It's like my
Backblades
back's
for
balding.
anyone.
Did you get a lot more action from your wife after that?
Well, we have a kid, so I mean, it's
Okay. Did you get a lot more action from your kid after that?
yeah from my kid. Yeah. So much. She really noticed.
Oh, I forgot it was a she. That joke's even funnier.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Backblade, for your free advertising. That was never even
Oh, yeah.
scheduled.
Your
to
weird
I do not want to. I do
We're
not.
associated with you.
Oh, I wonder what else your target market would love to have advertised.
So far, it's been white erase boards.
There was a wide array
and a back shaver. That's so far. That's what we've done. So it's all over the place right now. Yeah, there's other ones coming down the pike.
Now, Forrest, what was our next act about? I don't want to talk about kids being detained any longer.
Okay. Yeah.
We
Well.
talked about Act 2 as well.
Yeah, we talked about Act 2. I know. So then to lighten it up, we talked about the World Cup and not the fun shit like the games. We talked about how terrible Russia is. And basically, specifically, the homophobia that exists in Russia and the racism that exists in Russia. And it's always been there. But it's now that the World Cup's there, it's like in the spotlight. And, you know, I guess the government was sort of trying to get their shit together before the whole world was looking at them. But it doesn't. It's you know, they're not like, you know, going to change their whole fucking thing. So there was like soccer fans that have thrown bananas at black players for other teams.
But actually, potassium is very helpful.
Yeah, maybe that's what they're doing. They're
cramps. You don't get a cramp.
cramping
Right,
up. Yeah,
so
yeah.
Actually, you should eat some, but not too many,
And then,
because otherwise you do overdose.
and then there was, and also, basically,
Someone went to
on
hospital.
bananas.
Do you know Peter Andre? You know that singer Peter Andre?
Yes, of course.
He went to hospital because he ate like 7 bananas in one day and he freaked out.
Wow.
no, that's
no
not. Come on.
He's,
No,
a-
I believe that to be fact.
he's an Australian pop star.
With the-
Yeah, he's
with the-
Australian. There we go.
Anyway, so we talk about all the homophobia that's happening
yeah,
in
that's
Russia.
what I was getting to. Yeah.
Now, also, this was a very difficult thing for Jason to write because Jason, you're pro homophobia, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
No,
And pro racism.
yeah. Sometimes
It's weird. If you watch the show, you wouldn't think any
Yeah,
of this.
so
is-
I have to always. There's always a bit of kickback from me because I'm the good person in
Yeah.
the room. Sometimes I walk into the room.
By the way, you can hardly tell you're eating.
No. Sometimes I walk in the room and Jason's like that, and he'd be like, "Black gays, am I right?" And I'm like, "From what angle?" And he goes, "You know," and then he winks a little bit too solidly at me.
Yeah.
And I always talk you off the cliff, don't you? I say they're all right, they're good people.
Well, I mean, Jim, your name's in the title of the show, so it doesn't matter what I want to talk about on the show. It's like if
No, you right,
wanna
you
talk about
you
that.
you right towards me.
Yeah.
Now, Scott Zabinski. What's your?
Hey, by the
I'm
way,
gonna
by the
hand
way,
it over to you.
by the way, before it, what's Scott's wife's name?
Gertrude.
You said it today. But you said what her name was on the Guinevere, I think is what you said. Called her.
No, I think
pretty
he actually
close.
knows what
Of course
it
I
is.
know.
He now says it.
Yeah, he knows.
It's a running thing that I do
They have a bit.
where I act like I don't know Scott's wife, right? And then there's another bit that I do where I act like I fathered Scott's children.
Yeah.
And then there's yeah,
They're like, oh, new daddy has so much money.
yeah. and we all know I haven't fathered Scott's children because they're not the greatest looking kids. Anyway, no.
That one's cute.
I like how, like 5 minutes ago, you were giving a heartfelt speech about kids locked in cages. You're like, Scott's kids are ugly.
I don't lock Scott's kids up in a cage.
The worst part is my wife listens to every single podcast. And now she's doing that.
She doesn't want Genevieve does.
Oh, Jim got a name right.
But it's a great name, isn't
Beautiful
it?
French name.
Boom.
Genevieve.
I've
Anyway,
always said it's a great name, right?
that was a bit of luck. I thought I was saying another stupid name, and I just
You walk right into that. Perfect.
I believe that you think that.
Anyway, so we talked about how Scott was homophobic. And anyway, in Russia, they're homophobic as well as Scott.
What fruit do they throw at gay players?
It's probably still a banana.
Yeah, that's a multi-purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're very efficient. In
I
Russia.
feel like bananas cover racism and homophobia. like as a fruit, and also just the fact that it's called a fruit. You know, you're not throwing a vegetable at a gay person. It's definitely a fruit.
What would the whites get? What fruit do we get?
What fruit do we
What do you mean
get?
fruits?
What fruit do we get? What about
No,
us?
you get avocado thrown at you.
Yeah, what do?
Yeah, but not ripe. It's
That is the
hard.
most racist thing that's ever happened on our podcast. It's like, oh, how do people condemn us whites? What struggles do we go through?
That's a real privileged point of view. To
Yeah,
French.
oh, what do they throw at us? Crushed avocado on toast. That's what they throw at us. Anyway,
That takes a lot of preparation.
anyway, so it turns out that Russia's got some issues. The being gay in Russia is it officially illegal? I think it is illegal.
Well, they kill him in Chechnya, don't they?
So I'm going to go with illegal. But it's illegal to depict a positive image of two gay people. So they brought in, and also racism is just rampant because they're Russia and whatnot. And so what they brought in was a racism inspector. Who was the
Isn't it actually anti-racism inspector? But
he inspects to see if people are being racist, and then he puts a stop to it. And he was a World Cup footballer who played for the team maybe a decade ago.
Does he give him a ticket or something?
Yeah, red card. Or if he finds a gay person, a brown card with red spots on it. Anyway, so cut that out. Anyway, so yeah, that was an anal sex joke. That Fuck it, leave it in. Anyway, so what's his name first?
His name was Alexei Samaritan, and we used to play soccer for Russia.
Now,
like the Russia's world.
There's a thing I did in the show that has now become my favorite thing to do in the entire world. Whenever there's a head of a person just over my shoulder, I like to move behind the screen and act like I'm that person. Now, I've had a lot of pushback from the rest of the staff, but it's my fucking show, and this will be continuing forever. So, what did I do, Zabelski?
Well, you did was it the queer, the racism inspector for sure you did. And
You also did the Russian guy here.
the
Yeah.
guy with the Russian
That was
haircut.
incredible, imagery, because the shoulder of Alexei actually lined up with Jim's shoulders.
Yeah.
Was that?
Oh yeah, we're good at it now. We've done
Well,
it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, our camera guy actually was like...
That was incredible. I was
Lambert.
like shit at that.
This isn't me first rodeo, mate.
By the way, you're asking about how it's not illegal to be gay in Russia, but public opinion in Russia tends to be hostile, is what they say. And a 2013 survey found that 74% of Russians said homosexuality should not be accepted by society, up from 60% in 2002. So they're getting more homophobic.
What is
they're
your-
literally going the other way. So.
What does your internet search history look like from working on this podcast for?
Oh, I mean, it's better than before. There was on the show, trust me.
All of Forrest's thing is locking kids in cage.
It's like a lot.
Homophobia is good, right?
It was like cats and grandmother porn before this mostly. So
Do you really like grandmother porn?
no.
Mine was
That'd be
grandmother
funny.
and cat porn.
Oh, very similar.
Have you ever seen cat porn?
No, cat porn. I've seen cats fuck.
Yeah,
I've heard cats fuck.
yeah, that's what I watch. That's what I'm talking about.
This is the very reason I shouldn't eat during the podcast. I shouldn't leave you two to talk alone for that fucking long. You've just been chatting about cats fucking.
You've been eating on the podcast. We've heard. Don't act like it's been. It's
Have you
better
actually
than
seen
normal.
Cats fuck? Do you know why they scream? Because they've got barbs at the end of their penises, and it really hurts.
Yeah.
They have spiky dicks that lock in as the
Spiky dicks.
as the dicks go in.
Spiky
There's spikes on the side that lock in.
Have you ever heard the podcast or?
I don't think anybody
Choose
listens to
that.
any of these. The whiteboard. I mean, they're not listening to this shit, right?
Anyway, so there's homophobia in Russia. We chatted about that for a bit.
I like when you're just done with an act. Anyways, guy thing word.
I
verb,
did
done.
enjoy that podcast because until today I had no idea how amazing my Russian accent was.
Oh, the act. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've got a new string to me bow.
Well, you got to do it now.
Very good. We're doing things with Russia and things, blah, blah, blah. Let President Trump be pissing on me. It's brilliant. Trust me. I got.
Trust me. I know you're hearing it now, but
that
yeah.
sounds very Trump of you.
Okay,
Trust me, I can do that.
who here is listening to the podcast and watching the fucking show?
Wait, are you taking a survey in this room?
I'm talking about the actual people listening in your cars. Like, why do
We
you?
can't do a survey that way.
Yeah, but but are there
We'll get back to you.
people who listen to the podcast and don't watch the show? Please write to us. I listen to the podcast and I don't watch the show.
There are people that in other countries that can't get the show that definitely listen to the podcast. They've written to us. And
I
said
heard
that.
we're back in Britain at 3 a.m. or something.
But it's like reruns from current. Oh, way to go, England! There you go.
no.
Yeah.
They have DVR in England. Someone was asking, or maybe it was Australia. Someone in the podcast group was asking what a PVR is, like that they didn't have that. I assume that technology must exist.
I don't know. There's a lot of dummies that are like they don't know. Some guy wrote to me. I think it was in the podcast group or someone, and said he couldn't get my special. So could I? He asked me if I could tell him how to illegally download it, and I was like, usually you don't ask the person you're stealing from how to steal from them, but I was like, bravo on the confidence there. That was great. I don't remember where that was, but so there's not a lot of the brightest people on there, but
Yeah.
we like them. Thanks for being there.
I want to do something now that Zabilski and Jason are here. What happens after every show we do? What happens when I get into the editing room, Scott? I rank the episodes.
Oh, you do, and it's always, and certainly in the bottom half, it's never like a.
I always go, this one's number 8. Fifth
you never
worst.
say 8. It's always
Eighth
we've done
worst.
Out of 32?
Yeah, exactly. It's always bad.
Where do you put this one?
I would put this in. For me, it would probably be in the bottom half. I mean, because
Because you're homophobic and you like locking kids in cages.
Yeah, I mean, we
and
talked
this
about
episode went against everything that you believe.
Yeah, well, now I'm gonna have to answer for this amongst my friends and explain that, like, look, I have to make a paycheck.
Amongst your friends. like you're in some fucking cage kid rink.
You don't know what's underneath his t-shirt. He might have those like.
No, I know what's underneath his fucking t-shirts. Fat and regret. Anyway, so we just heard his feelings. I forgot you went Forrest. Forrest is dead inside. Anyway, so you would put this in the bottom half?
Yeah,
I would. I'm going to put it in the top half.
I'm very impressed by that. Yeah,
I like shows with gimmicks. I like camels. I like old prostitutes from Holland. But I like poignant as well. I feel this episode was poignant, and I like important. I feel like it was an important thing.
It feels
we did.
more Edinburgh show. Like that's.
Yeah,
grew up
it
on
feels
that, right?
less like a comedy club gig and
oh,
more.
you guys were saying that, like that in Edinburgh, a lot of times you end on something serious. Right?
Well, it's just because like there's like 3,000 of us up there every year, and you somehow have to stand out, and so you try and do something relatively poignant that's funny.
There's a theme, right?
Yeah, and you know people watch like 10 shows a day, and so you have to somehow find something that's more interesting about you. And so I felt very Edinburgh show.
I will say, like, I know we say this, but I actually mean it. Is I don't feel like we've done a bad episode.
I think we focus on the comedy. We're always funny.
You're doing great at reading. I wish maybe we could do that. Like a montage of you starting out reading, you know, from the beginning of the show to now, and like we play like Sarah McLachlan or something in the background. It's just like inspirationally gets better to this episode. I'm being serious. Yeah, you're a much better reader now.
Oh,
What's happening? What do you do?
I saw your second episode, and it took a whole day. And now, like, you're smashing it like a professional.
Yeah, I've grown into this job. That's why we shouldn't trust the president. Yeah. Maybe he's getting into his groove right now.
I think there's a good analogy there somewhere.
There is.
Yeah.
You know, the first 2 months, Trump was just sitting in his office going, "Oh, fuck.
Yeah, the note on the button.
What's happened? Can you sign this? Sure, what is it? Doesn't matter. Whatever." And then by fucking month fucking 9, he's like this, "Hey, let's lock up kids. I'm getting good at this."
Yeah, I mean, I'm being serious, though. I mean, on a serious note, Jim's a better reader now. It sounds like we're talking about like a child. He's doing good.
Yeah,
I read good.
You guys saw him every week. Well, I took a break. And
So it's like when you see somebody that's growing and they didn't even know they're
I
going.
was like, oh,
Yeah.
he can
There
actually
you go,
read.
Eric.
I think but you know, it's a lot harder than you think it is. Like, if just reading along, because we see the teleprompter when
Yeah.
Jim's doing it, and I'm doing it in my head, and I'm fucking up in my head. And
No, I know
I'm
it's hard,
It's
yeah.
gotta be way harder in front of a bunch of people. Like, every time he gets to something else, I'm like, oh man, he already did better than I would have done.
And
No,
also,
I know it's hard,
You
yeah.
gotta look like you're not reading. That's another thing
Yeah,
as
that's-
well. I've seen
gotta
some
sell the
teleprompter
jokes. There's a
people
whole bunch of-
looking like they're reading.
I'm
like
I'm
idiots.
very good at the acting like I'm not reading.
Are you?
Yeah, you're good.
Which you've done your whole life almost, right?
Yeah, when you lean back in the chair, I'm like, well, he can't be reading. He's leaning back in his chair.
Yeah, that's my signature move. The lean back in the chair, and now it's the covering my face by another face on the
it's-
small screen.
Or start
Their
a segment with
signature
your hands
move.
open.
Yeah, I go like this. Hey, we're back. Ah!
John Oliver has welcome. Sam B has the blazer, and you've got the lean back.
I need to piss to all the Australians who are very upset about being knocked out of the World Cup. There is still hope. Follow England. That's where we come from originally. And if all else fails, follow Mexico, because I live in LA and I know it's going to be fucking shit hot if Mexico keeps getting through the World Cup. These are countries I can never forgive. Germany, do not support them. They've done some horrible things about history. French, let's just all agree that the French are cunts. Do not support them. Denmark, Belgium, all you're famous for is pedophilia and chocolate, and I think you invented the second one to get the first one. So that's my World Cup wrap-up. Good night, Australia. Good night, world. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
No, probably in a week we're going to do a podcast.
Yeah, you'll be lucky.
I mean, I'll be lucky. I don't give a shit. I mean, I give a shit, but I mean, you're going to. All right. So we're going to probably do a podcast next week. That's the idea. We're going to be dark next week for 4th of July. We'll be back July 10th with the show. As always, if there's a topic you want us to talk about, tweet to us at Jeffrey Show, or I guess you can write to it on the podcast group, the Jim Jeffrey Show podcast group. That's where some of these people came in from this week. Please subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts. And, Eric, thank you for being on the podcast. You want to promote yourself before...
More.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have let you promote yourself before.
Thanks, man.
I mean, at this point, no one's listening. But go ahead and promote.
I'll do it anyways. I've got a podcast called Topical Island. I just recorded my album last week, so that's going to come out at some point.
Yeah, you got to tell them where to find all this stuff.
Who cares? They're not going to.
All right, that's how I kind of feel too. So, and watch Poor Decisions. That's my special. Please write a nice comment.
This has been a Comedy Central podcast.
Well, I'm on confidence there. That was great. I don't remember where that was, but so there's not a lot of the brightest people on there, but
Now-
we like them. Thanks for being there.
I want to do something now that Zabilski and Jason are here. What happens after every show we do? What happens when I get into the editing room, Scott? I rank the episodes.
Oh, you do, and it's always, and certainly in the bottom half, it's never like a.
I always go, this one's number 8. Fifth
No, you
worst.
never say 8. It's always
Eighth
we've done
worst.
Out of 32?
Yeah, exactly. It's always bad.
Where do you put this one?
I would put this in. For me, it would probably be in the bottom half. I mean, because
Because you're homophobic and you like locking kids in cages.
Yeah, I mean, we
and
talked
this
about
episode went against everything that you believe.
Yeah, well, now I'm gonna have to answer for this amongst my friends and explain that, like, look, I have to make a paycheck.
Amongst your friends. like you're in some fucking cage kid rink.
You don't know what's underneath his t-shirt. He might have those like.
No, I know what's underneath his fucking t-shirts. Fat and regret. Anyway, so we just heard his feelings. I forgot you went Forrest. Forrest is dead inside. Anyway, so you would put this in the bottom half?
Yeah,
I would. I'm going to put it in the top half.
I'm very impressed by that. Yeah.
I like shows with gimmicks. I like camels. I like old prostitutes from Holland. But I like poignant as well. I feel this episode was poignant, and I like important. I feel like it was an important thing
It
we
feels
did.
more Edinburgh show. Like that's.
Yeah,
I grew up
it
on
feels
that, right?
less like a comedy club gig and
Oh,
more.
you guys were saying that, like that in Edinburgh, a lot of times you end on something serious. Right?
Well, it's just because like there's like 3,000 of us up there every year, and you somehow have to stand out, and so you try and do something relatively poignant that's funny.
There's a theme, right?
Yeah, and you know people watch like 10 shows a day, and so you have to somehow find something that's more interesting about you. And so I felt very Edinburgh show.
I will say, like, I know we say this, but I actually mean it. Is I don't feel like we've done a bad episode.
I think we focus on the comedy. We're always funny.
You're doing great at reading. I wish maybe we could do that, like a montage of you starting out reading, you know, from the beginning of the show to now, and like we play like Sarah McLachlan or something in the background. It's just like inspirationally gets better to this episode. I'm being serious. Yeah, you're a much better reader now.
Oh,
What's happening? What do you do?
I saw your second episode, and it took a whole day. And now, like, you're smashing it like a professional.
Yeah, I've grown into this job. That's why we shouldn't trust the president. Yeah. Maybe he's getting into his groove right now.
I think there's a good analogy there somewhere.
There is.
Yeah.
You know, the first 2 months, Trump was just sitting in his office going, "Oh, fuck.
Yeah, the note on the
What's happened? Can you sign this? Sure, what is it? Doesn't matter. Whatever." And then by fucking month fucking 9, he's like this, "Hey, let's lock up kids. I'm getting good at this."
Yeah, I mean, I'm being serious, though. I mean, on a serious note, Jim's a better reader now. It sounds like we're talking about like a child. He's doing good.
I read good.
You guys saw him every week. Well, I took a break. And
So it's like when you see somebody that's growing and they didn't even know they're going.
like, oh,
Yeah.
he can
There
actually
you go,
read.
Eric.
I think it's a lot harder than you think it is. Like if just reading along, because we see the teleprompter when
Yeah.
Jim's doing it, and I'm doing it in my head, and I'm fucking up in my head. And
No, I know
I'm
it's hard,
It's
yeah.
gotta be way harder in front of a bunch of people. Like every time he gets to something else, I'm like, oh man, he already did better than I would have done.
And
No,
also,
I know it's hard,
You
yeah.
got to look like you're not reading. That's another thing
Yeah,
as
that's-
well. I've seen
gotta
some
sell the
teleprompter
jokes. There's a
people
whole bunch of-
looking like they're reading.
I'm
idiots.
very good at the acting like I'm not reading.
Are you?
Yeah, you're good.
Which you've done your whole life almost, right?
Yeah, when you lean back in the chair, I'm like, well, he can't be reading. He's leaning back in his chair.
Yeah, that's my signature move. The lean back in the chair, and now it's the covering my face by another face on the
Yeah,
small screen.
Or start
Their
a segment with
signature
your hands
move.
open.
Yeah, I go like this. Hey, we're back. Ah!
John Oliver has welcome. Sam B has the blazer, and you've got the lean back.
I need to piss to all the Australians who are very upset about being knocked out of the World Cup. There is still hope. Follow England. That's where we come from originally. And if all else fails, follow Mexico, because I live in LA and I know it's going to be fucking shit hot if Mexico keeps getting through the World Cup. These are countries I can never forgive. Germany, do not support them. They've done some horrible things throughout history. French, let's just all agree that the French are cunts. Do not support them. Denmark, Belgium, all you're famous for is pedophilia and chocolate, and I think you invented the second one to get the first one. So that's my World Cup wrap-up. Good night, Australia. Good night, world. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
No, probably in a week we're going to do a podcast.
Yeah, you'll be lucky.
I mean, I'll be lucky. I don't give a shit. I mean, I give a shit, but I mean, you're going to... All right, so we're going to probably do a podcast next week. That's the idea. We're going to be dark next week for 4th of July. We'll be back July 10th for the show. And as always, if there's a topic you want us to talk about, tweet to us at Jeffrey Show, or I guess you can write to it on the podcast group, the Jim Jeffrey Show podcast group. That's where some of these people came in from this week. Please subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts. And oh yeah, Eric, thank you for being on the podcast. You want to promote yourself before?
More.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have let you promote yourself before.
Thanks, man.
I mean, at this point, no one's listening. But go ahead and promote.
I'll
Yeah.
do it anyway.
Yeah.
I've got a podcast called Topical Island. I just recorded my album last week, so that's going to come out at some point.
Yeah, you got to tell them where to find all this stuff.
Who cares? They're not going to.
All right, that's how I kind of feel too. So, and yeah, watch Poor Decisions. That's my special. Please write a nice comment.
This has been a Comedy Central podcast.
The podcast. And oh yeah, Eric, thank you for being on the podcast. You want to promote yourself before?
More.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have let you promote yourself before.
Thanks, man.
I mean, at this point, no one's listening. But go ahead and promote.
I'll
Yeah.
do it anyway.
Yeah.
I've got a podcast called Topical Island. I just recorded my album last week, so that's going to come out at some point.
Yeah, you got to tell them where to find all this stuff.
Who cares? They're not going to.
All right, that's how I kind of feel too. So, and yeah, watch Poor Decisions. That's my special. Please write a nice comment.
This has been a Comedy Central podcast. This has been a Comedy Central podcast.